Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Kellen Curry, a Republican running for the seat currently occupied by embattled Congressman George Santos. Kellen, thank you so much for joining me.
Well, thank you for having me. I always appreciate our sit down, so I'm looking forward to speaking with you today.
Me too, and there has been some big news over the past few days. George Santos announced last week that he is not running for re-election. What's your response?
Well, listen, I think it's a step in the right direction. Certainly, we have been calling for this day to come for quite some time. But the country is still at a crossroads. Our district is still at a crossroads. And so we stay focused on the issues that Long Islanders care about, like quality of life, getting rid of the SALT cap deduction. Certainly, we have a large and vibrant Jewish community here that's very much concerned about what's going on in the Middle East. So some of these issues that are impacting our community that are not being resolved are not being advocated for because we don't have the right representation. It's the beginning of a new day where we can begin to see that day come when we get a better member of Congress, and I'm hopeful that it will be me.
I do want to talk about your strategy just a little bit, and if this changes it at all. Does George Santos deciding not to seek re-election change the dynamic of the race going forward?
For us, not at all. We were the first campaign to get into this race, and we got into this race early because we always thought that this could be a potential outcome. And so here we are. And so for us, it's just another day of getting up, knocking on doors, connecting with voters, building a campaign operation so that by the time we get into 2024, we have a good foundation for a campaign that can be successful in this battleground district. So we're excited about this outcome. We're ready for it, and we look forward to being successful.
I know this district is a battleground district, as you said. Currently, it belongs to a Republican, but that Republican has disappointed a lot of people. He's very embattled. So I am curious, what is your pitch to the constituents in Long Island District 3 to say, hey, no, a Republican still needs to hold this seat?
Absolutely. The biggest question coming into 2023 was, could Republicans hold Biden-won districts that we captured in 2022? Could we continue to hold those? And we just had local elections here a few Tuesdays ago, and we demonstrated that. We won bellwether districts that we knew were going to be critical to sending a signal on whether or not we could be successful in 2024. And so we demonstrated that. We held local elections here, and we completely wiped the board with Democrats. So folks are still very much excited about voting for Republicans. They believe that we're the best party to fix the border, to get the economy back on track, and I look forward to leaning into those issues once we get into the heat of the battle in 2024.
I do want to talk about the border in just a moment because you mentioned that when a member of Congress from Texas actually endorsed you, but I do have a few more questions on George Santos. Him saying he won't seek re-election comes after a House Ethics Committee report found he, quote, blatantly stole from his campaign. And he allegedly used donor funds for things like Botox and OnlyFans. When you hear these things, what's your response?
Well, for quite some time, the whole George Santos story has become more of a media fascination. So quite frankly, here on the ground, we're over it. We're done talking about it. We're ready to move on. We're ready to talk about issues that matter and not so much on what George Santos was spending his money on. So we remain focused on what we need to do to move our communities forward on the issues that I just mentioned, and we're excited about that future.
He hasn't been expelled yet. He has not resigned yet. And in part of his statement, he said this: I will continue on my mission to serve my constituents up until I am allowed. Do you think he can still adequately serve those constituents?
Well, if you think about it, he never has. He was sworn in with this cloud over his head, and he's been existing there for that entire time. That cloud has not moved. It's only gotten more and more intense. And so we are focused once again on replacing George Santos. I believe I'm the right candidate to make sure that we can be successful in this campaign. Everything about my background aligns with the concerns of the district. We have to have a dynamic campaign and candidacy. We've been building that campaign, and I look forward to winning this seat for Republicans and for the country and for our communities in 2024.
As of now, he hasn't resigned. Do you call on him to resign, A? And B, let's say he does not resign. Do you think Congress should expel him immediately?
I think the right thing to do would be for him to resign. Obviously, nothing is getting done. The issues that we care about in this community, from SALT to advocating strongly for Israel and what's going on with Hamas in the Middle East, he's not able to do any of that. So the best thing to do for him, for the country, for this district, is to move on. Whether that comes through a resignation or an expulsion vote, it doesn't really matter to us here on the ground. We just want him gone.
I do now want to pivot to your campaign specifically. You picked up an endorsement recently from Representative Tony Gonzalez. He is from Texas. So I am curious, when you responded to this endorsement, you said you're looking forward to working with him to, quote, fix America's broken immigration system. How specifically do you do this? Because both Democrats and Republicans largely agree the immigration system in the United States is not working. Obviously, the solutions differ. So how do you fix it?
Absolutely. One of the most consistent questions and feedback that I get when I knock on doors, even here in New York, is when are we going to fix the system? When are we going to fix our broken immigration system? Because here in New York, we are experiencing, at least at one point, 10,000 new migrants every single month. And it's impacting the city, it's impacting the region's economy and our culture and our way of life. And New Yorkers have had enough of it. So they want to send members of Congress who are going to be constructive and offering solutions. Right now, what we're seeing is that the asylum process is being abused. And so that's where we have to start. We have to get more resources to the border. We have to give more power and authority to our asylum officers to turn away frivolous cases of asylum seekers. We have to stop the magnets. And right now, New York City for so long was a magnet in terms of a sanctuary city, and now they're beginning to rethink some of those policies. And I think that's a good thing. That's a healthy thing. I think that's going to bring the country more towards a consensus view on how to fix this issue, and I look forward to being a leader in that debate. And we're so thankful to have Congressman Gonzalez support.
Do you think that New York should still be a sanctuary city, or are you saying, hey, you can still be a sanctuary city, but there should be some limits?
What I'm saying is that we have to get rid of the magnets that's bringing people here, because it's not working. If you're a sanctuary city, all you're doing is destabilizing your city. It's not good for the migrants. They cannot work. They're being exploited. They're being housed in inadequate locations. And so it's not good for the migrants. It's not good for the city. It's not good for the regional economy. Our school systems are being inundated. We have classrooms that are being too full of kids and so we can't even support our own population. And so we have to ensure that our country's borders are secure. And right now it's become a national security issue. We know that there are people coming across the border that have ties to terrorism. We know that a number of people who are on the terrorist watch list are coming across the border. Right now, the FBI, the CIA are investigating a number of cases in which this has been the circumstance. And so we have to gain control of the border for our national security and for the sake of our cities and our regional economy here in New York.
And when you say gain control of the border, would you want to see something like a wall put up? Is that something that you would be for?
There are places across the border where the only way you can access it is on horseback. There are places on the border where it makes sense to put up a wall, such as the San Diego area where it's very urban. But there are other places where it doesn't make sense. And so you have to go sector by sector and do what makes the most sense. There are also ungoverned places across the border where the cartels have effectively control of that space and the Mexican government does not. And so that's going to require more of a robust military solution. And so that's something that we're going to have to look at, because we cannot allow the soft spot that is the southern border to be something that terrorists exploit. We don't want to wake up one day and have another 9/11 in this country. We have to protect the homeland, and right now it's too much of a porous border. And so the American people are rightly concerned about this, and it's time that we do something about it.
Kellen, we are rapidly approaching 2024. We're entering the holiday season, and then it's off to the races for Election Day. So what's next for your campaign?
Yeah, it's same old, same old. Quite frankly, our campaign, we believe that the campaign that stays the most focused, the most hardworking, the most vigorous in terms of connecting with voters is going to be successful here in this battleground district. And so that's exactly what we're doing. We're waking up each and every day. We're putting in the work. We're making the phone calls. It's what you have to do to be successful here. We are committed to it, and I look forward to getting the job done.
Kellen Curry, I really appreciate you coming on per usual. Thank you so much, and I hope you join me again soon.
Well, thank you so much for having me.